So, question. I've had this conversation with a lot of people recently. Do you believe in traditional gender roles? And if so, how so?
I mean, for me, that's kind of a yes and a no. Especially with the way that the world is at now, is so many different aspects and so many different levels of what traditional gender roles fall into, especially because of the family dynamics or the family makeup. You know, you get depending on whatever their job is, or let's say the military as an example. You know, you have husbands and wives that deploy, that leaves that father or that mother at home taking care of everything. So it's kind of like they encompass every role that there is to be put on the table because that's the circumstances that they're in.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
I'm gonna say no. Just on the end of like, I know for me, I know how to cook. I know how to clean. Don't come to me saying you know how to do that and that's what your added value is to my space. Because
Right.
I already know how to do those things myself. I've done the whole family man. All right, I'm cooking dinner. I'm packing lunch for tomorrow for the kids and you when you go to work. Like I've done all of that. So I know I can do it. I know you could probably do it. But if we just offering traditional roles, like what does that really mean to me if I know I could do it? So I don't look to say, well, my partner has to be this type of woman who believes in the things of what women do. Like, nah, dog, not in this day and age. If we talking about how are we actually working to one build each other, and sometimes it might be outside of the male female role thing. So I can't be like, no, you can only do that because you're the woman. Like, no.
Well, I believe that to each his own. Whatever works for that couple works for that couple. When I was married, my ex-wife was an exec. She was out. She was at work all the time. I had to take care of my two stepsons, so I had to cook. I own my own business, so I work for myself. I don't work for anybody else. So I was able to be home, pick them up from school, cook for them, all those other things. It wasn't an issue for us. That worked for us. Some others, it may not. So it depends on the individuals.
Agree. Rob, Fave?
I pretty much agree. I think I agree with everyone else. I think with today, barring how you was raised, and traditional. I can't kind of traditional roles is more taboo now, just because. Like I said, I agree wholeheartedly. If what works for one couple may not. Like I know, in my house, like I'm the cook. You know what I mean? Like, but that's something that I like to do, so that doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? But I think ultimately what it boils down to is what kind of communication that you've had with your what are they comfortable with, what are they not comfortable with, or whatever have you, and then come to some kind of compromise about it. Because I mean, like that's literally what I did in my house. So some things traditionally, like she should be doing or whatever, I guess, but that those are roles that I take and vice versa. So I think with like again agreeing with everybody else, it kind of just determine whatever compromise that you have in your house about whatever the roles are.
So one of the comments that you can see from the audience, this audience member is 58, been married for 35 years, and she says men take out the garbage and women cook. So do you think that's a change?
I think it's definitely a change. Excuse me, especially because if she'd been married for 35 years, the lifestyle and the era that she grew up in, or that her and her husband got married in, was totally different than it is now. So that absolutely was more traditional, and it worked for them because of the time frame that, that they grew up in.
especially if that's what
Let
they
me let me just say, the kids took out the garbage and the mom cooked. Okay.
right. I mean, I took out the garbage at my house, so I get it. But you know, if yeah, the time frame is definitely different, and it's gonna change with the dynamic or the current, you know, evolution of time. You know, like I said, she at 58, you know, is a lot more, has been in a relationship a lot longer, and again, the era and the time frame where they started at is absolutely different. So, and
Yes, absolutely.
congratulations
So
to them for being married for 35 years. It's a long time.
I think thank you. That's my mama. That's my mama and my daddy.
Wait, could I? Wait,
All right. So,
I'll jump in on
Well,
that
it's
one.
different. Sonya could take the trash out.
all right, I want to interject on that because Nicole did say something that was very important about the kids took the trash out and the mama cooked. Also, what my partner just said there, I agree with him because the roles have changed, and what I want to bring out is that a lot of the women nowadays are are single mothers, and
Mhm.
so they have been so independent in taking care of those things that are supposed to be traditionally in a man's role. When they do meet a man, now it's kind of hard, not saying she can't do it, but it's kind of hard for her to give up what
Right.
she's been so accustomed to without having that
Yep.
male role model in the house.
Because I'm strong and
And
Yeah,
I
you know what I'm talking about. Look, my man Rod, you know what I'm talking about. I be like,
I know
I'm like, hey.
I'm strong.
I'm like,
That's the main
okay.
thing.
Wait, can we
You
put
know,
some things
to
in
me,
like? Go ahead.
go ahead. Well, that's part of, to me, that's part of a broader conversation that I want to have at a separate time. And it's really just about where was the failure in the Black community and why do we have so many issues and why there's so many women had to step up and become educated and do these things because
You
we
wanna-
look back,
I
we look back in the 80s. Wait, we look back, we look back in the 80s and stuff, and there's too many people that their spouses were in jail. They were married, spouses are in jail, fathers have left, and so now these children have seen how their mom and their dad may have struggled. So all these women are going to college. These women are going to college and they're trying to fix what was broken in the past. But that's a separate conversation. And I don't want to have that today.
was about to say I
Listen to you.
have that.
Ooh.
I did a research paper on that.
Yeah, I'm here to listen to y'all. So I don't want to preach on why some of these things have happened. So we're gonna move on to the next subject. And if you want to be part of that panel, just let me know.
Yeah.
Because that's why I talk a lot.
Yeah.
All right. But I agree with all of you guys. You know, times have changed, and I think there's no one size fit all when it comes to traditional gender roles. I personally believe in having to cook for my family, but that's what I enjoy. That's what I was raised on. Even though I work and I have a job, and we might work the same hours a day, or I might work more hours a day, I feel like it's still my responsibility to cook for my family. I can't wait to go home and cook for my family. Aaron said they've been eating the same 3 vegetables while I've been gone, and we can't have that. But he's holding it down. He's taken out of the traditional, and he's being mom and dad right now. And he has to cook, and he has to clean, he has to maintain the house, and he has to take care of the kid. And, you know, I appreciate him being able to step outside that box and pick up those roles for me.
I don't necessarily even think it's him being mom. It's just him being a dad. You know, and that's the level of responsibility that it comes with being a parent. You know, it's gonna be times where the mom or the dad ain't around for whatever reason, and you know, when you have the responsibility of kids, you just gotta take that as it is because it's a whole situation. You can't just be like, oh, your mom not here, or I don't got no girlfriend, so I don't know what you're gonna eat, little baby.
Pretty much, he is absolutely being a dad and being responsible and taking care of the child.
You know, I'm gonna go down there and give my brother a break.
Fave, welcome back.
Yeah,
We were talking about
I was one of your YouTube
traditional
viewers for a
gender
second.
roles.
yeah.
Would you like to-
So to run back to what man Tony had mentioned about being self-employed and working for yourself. When you work for yourself, your options change, and when you have different options, you move different. So I think that parallels with the male-female relationships now. options have changed, so we move differently, and gender roles have changed along with that. So if it's a situation where your only responsibilities in the relationship was to make sure that the domestic situation is A1, then 50 plus years ago, 30 plus years ago, 20 plus, well, 25 plus years ago, the focus would be for the woman, like, the woman is going to make sure that, when the man comes home from working, his domestic situation is right. There's food, a clean home, things like that. But if now the standard is 2 incomes, now the standard is I'm educated, I'm out here getting mine, I've earned my spot in the world, her focus shouldn't necessarily be on solely domestic issues. And that becomes more of a shared responsibility. So, just as options change, as you grow more into yourself, and as you fight for your place in this world, you're going to expand your role and your options. So I think the bottom line is again what Tony touched on, whatever works for a couple is what works for that couple. You can understand what goes on in your home, and I think it's nice to have an outline and a roadmap for what needs to be done, but don't allow outside forces to dictate what's best for you, for your house, when you know what needs to be done.
So, devil's advocate,
Ooh,
raise your hand if you would prefer to just come home to a home cooked meal. Oh, nobody.
I don't. Nicole. See, that's that Wally Cleaver, Leave It to Beaver. You know what I'm saying? That's not even happening. We don't even traditionally have dinner anymore like we used to with the whole family. Yeah. And I remember growing up, that's what we did. And I know the other panelists, they did the same thing. Everybody you go in the room now and eat. The little kids even take their meals into the rooms now and eat while they watching some type of entertainment. So to say that's something that we look for now is basically this is archaic, if I would say it that way. It doesn't even exist anymore.
I'm gonna agree to disagree. Like in the traditional sense of that, yes, it doesn't exist anymore. But at least from like my standpoint, I don't have my own kids, but any kid that's at my house that I'm responsible for, when I cook, we eating at the table together, whether you have that at home or not, because I know what that togetherness can do. I know that's one of the most perfect times that you can have a random conversation about anything that happened throughout the day or whatever's going on with them, to kind of pick their brain. But it's absolutely mandatory at my house.
You guys eat together?
Well, can I say I'm gonna tell you a quick little story, 5 seconds. I had my granddaughter last week for school, so I made her lunch. So she said, "I'm going in the room, Papa, to eat." So she was about to take it in the room. Then she said, "Oh no, I'm not, because I'm gonna make a mess on your bed," and then ate on the table. So yeah.
At least she corrected herself.
Yeah, she corrected herself.
So Rob and Phil, you both have wives and kids at home. Do you guys eat together as much as possible? I know it's not.
We do. We do.
Yeah.
It's if it's one, especially if it's one of those days where it's like everybody done cooked like a big meal or something like that. Definitely. I want to say at least like 3 times a week we sit down and eat together. Like, cause I'm making a point to do that just cause brother just said, that's kind of like how I was raised. Like, it wasn't no going and sitting in the living room and watching TV while you ate. Like, you ate, we all sat down together, ate, and everybody went on about their business. So I try to recreate that as often as I possibly can.
Yeah, Can I ask Rob Creston real quick before the other one say the other Murray? Rob, do you take the phones from them while they at the table?
Well, mine aren't old enough to have phones yet, but
okay.
But they have laptops and iPads, and those are safely secured in the drawer.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do a hybrid. So just the way that the house is laid out, like we pretty much essentially have a kids table. So like my wife and I eat at the bar, so to speak, and the kids sit down at their table and eat. And truth be told, the TV is on probably about 95% of the time. But it is there is tradition in place, but it's also like a modern tradition. And
Yeah.
you know, while with giving credit to my wife, she you know, works full time. She's in the military, so you know, it's more than full time. But she still takes it upon herself to be the primary chef of the home, so she does the cooking. And so I think just out of respect for the effort that she makes to make that happen, as a family, you owe it to shut down whatever you're doing and at least sit down and collectively experience having dinner as a family every day.
Right.
Like that. I like that.
Trek, you look like you got something to say. What's the matter? You all right?
So, like, one of the things that I am not a fan of in the Black community in particular is this thing of us being monolithic.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I feel like X amount of what I've heard so far, myself included, is like that. Oh, let me try to paint this, you know, well enough sounding picture, presentation. It's just like, wait, like, because how I look at history and some things, because you said the thing about like, you know, when did we drop the ball in the Black community or whatever? And this thing of talking about, well, you know, traditionally, blah, 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 as far as like how we were raised as kids and stuff, to where we are now, right? And like TV dinners became a thing in the 70s.
It's true.
And before that, you had, what is that, in the 40s, 50s, World War II and all that stuff had ended playing out. The majority of men in the US were off fighting the war. So women were at home doing the full house thing. All right, I'm gonna go work. I'm gonna go pay these bills. I'm gonna raise this kid. It wasn't just exclusive to the white women. It was the Black women too.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
when I hear the stuff of like, oh, well, you know, it was always like, wait, it was always like what? Like, this isn't a new thing of having, quote, single moms. The numbers might be different. Having latchkey kids is definitely somewhat frowned upon on now, but it don't mean it don't still happen.
I was a latchkey kid. I turned out just fine.
Right. So, but it's one of those things where, like, you know, I hear stuff and how we talk about things within the, quote, Black community and this monolithic thing of, well, if you don't do it like this because this is how Black people are supposed to do it or how we supposed to present it, like, I don't know if you're really doing it right. Now, the dinner thing, yeah, like eating in a group, breaking bread, it does definitely do something for how you communicate, how you build rapport, how you learn about each other, and just being able to talk about your day and stuff, and especially like with the kids too, and understanding what's going on with them. But it don't mean that you can only do it at dinner time. Like when I used to, well, before this whole COVID thing was going on, like I dropped my daughter to school in the morning. So, you know, drive from the place in Brooklyn down to where her school was, and then work it out. I'd pick her up and stuff like that. And they'd be like, all right, so what's going on with this? What's going on with that? And, you know, we had these conversations. Or like, my kids don't live with me now. My kids are X amount older. But one of the things that I would make sure to do, if I couldn't do a like let's cook in the house thing, it's like, all right, I'm gonna grab both of y'all, let's go eat. And you know, you got your favorite place, so we're gonna go to your place and we're gonna eat this time, and the next time I'd go to the other one's place, or we do like a buffet thing, and it's like, all right, so what's going on with this, that, and third? Commonality is the food part of it, right? Because the food is the part that you can be able to talk and build and stuff on. My point in the whole thing is like this mono thing of how we supposed to like fit a certain mold or do things a certain way, like it ain't like universal. It ain't like it ain't always been like that. That's my other thing to it.
Dinner?
I'm just talking about in general for how Black people are supposed to relate in regards to relationships, in regards to gender roles, in regards to how we interact with our kids. Like X amount of us grew up in a generation or the era of where, like, if you saw a kid getting beat in public and you knew that was their parent, you're like, all right, we know what that is. But yet we are at this point now where somebody ready to call the cop on you, child services on you, is going to be at your house by the time you get there. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that kids still aren't getting beat. It's just a whole different
Yeah,
social norm.
I feel like that's a whole different conversation.
You're right. I'm sorry.
That's a whole.
Kids
That's
is
like
definitely getting beat.
yeah, that's about raising kids. So let's move on.